Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Thomas Galgani Show. My name is Thomas Galgani, and today we have another episode that I'm going to be speaking a little bit off the cuff on. And I wanted this to kind of come from the heart as well. I actually wrote a newsletter about this specific topic, talking about indirect results. I believe the title of that blog post was Infinite Versions of Self. And the reason for that was because I really find it interesting how we can have intentional efforts and apply our attention, our energy into things, with a lot of intention, but still get a lot of different results depending on how we're applying that energy and then what we're doing. And when I say indirect results, maybe the better word is something like unintended results, unintended consequences of our actions or our jobs. They can be negative or positive. Good example of this is like, let's say, you really enjoy the job that you have, but it happens to be just on night shift. An unintended consequence could be, poor health as a result of years and years, perhaps even decades of working on night shift. I think there's some new research that's been coming out saying how like sleep deprivation, prolonged sleep deprivation makes you more likely to get, I think it's dementia and Alzheimer's, all kinds of stuff like that. Don't quote me on that on the specific research, but as far as I know, in the past like 10 to 20 years, pretty recent, that night shift in particular, I believe you're even more likely to have different types of cancer, just statistically. That's one very random example, right? But then there's all kinds of positive indirect results of things like that I think a lot of us even know about. Let's say martial arts, for example. A parent may want to send their kid to martial arts because they know that they're going to learn discipline and probably a better appreciation for delayed gratification, self-control, stuff like that. But, whereas like the more obvious, kind of example might be like self-defense techniques, right? Like better fitness, a community that you can be a part of. And I think that these are oftentimes overlooked. And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately because, in my mid-30s now that I still have to put a lot of effort into working out. I shouldn't say I don't always put enough effort into the actual working out part, but definitely into making it happen. That takes a lot of effort for me, unfortunately, at times. Carving out the time, forcing myself to wake up early, to even if it's just a walk, and or a jog, whatever it is, hitting the weights at the gym. I've been noticing that one of the biggest benefits in my mid-30s is not even the physical stuff, but it's also the mental benefits of it. And I don't even mean, like having a clearer head or just feeling energized, stuff like that, but those immediate effects depending on the type of exercise that I'm doing. And it's interesting because it's like, walking in particular, I've talked about that recently too. I think it was in an Instagram post where, I've noticed a huge spike in clarity and creativity when I go on walks. I don't know what it is. I've been a runner, for most of my life and kind of inconsistently, unfortunately, where I'll go stretches without doing it enough. But running for me is still just kind of an intense thing. I have to put a lot of effort into it. If I'm trying to keep a good pace, it takes a lot of mental energy and I feel that intensity for me. And I know that a lot of people get a lot of cognitive benefits from running. I think I do as well. But what's cool about walking is that I really feel like my brain is firing on all kinds of on all cylinders, especially if, get to listen to a podcast or something like that. I'm just walking with my dog. Sometimes I'll walk with my son. My 2-year-old will be in a stroller or something like that. And then we'll kind of stop and walk around, and he'll like to kind of run around a little bit. And I just get a lot of benefit from that. So depending on the activity, right? If it's walking, that can give me a huge spike in clarity or creativity. But if I want to get that sort of detox feeling and almost like a reset, I really do like to go for a run then, just like a long jog, like 45 minutes or longer. And it feels great. Just that long sweat. It's amazing. And I really feel a huge difference depending on what you're doing. And I know, first of all, walking, a lot of people will say, that's not a workout. Why are you even counting that as a workout? Well, I do. Okay. So deal with it. I think I like counting it as a workout because it's either that or I'm sitting around at home. And that's just the reality. I don't have a particular lifestyle where I'm dependent on walking from point A to point B. There have been times living abroad, for example, where I had to walk a lot each day, and that was great. That was one of my favorite things about that experience. But now that's not the case. Okay, I drive, like a lot of people from point A to point B, and I just don't have to walk. And so for me to count it as a workout, I'm not replacing it. I'm not replacing that with, I'm not using that to replace strength training or any other kind of things that is any other kind of activities that are irreplaceable when it comes to physical fitness or long-term health. I'm just counting it because I know that if I count it, then it'll happen. And then I'm much more likely to be like, okay, I'm going to make this happen as opposed to just sitting on the couch. And so to back up, we have the different types of activities that I like engaging in depending on what I'm trying to achieve. We got the long run, the long walk, but then we also have lifting weights, which I think is great for men in particular. Don't take that the wrong way. I know resistance training is just as important for women. I'm just saying, I feel like maybe in today's society, something like that, I feel like a lot of men have some aggression nowadays. And I've noticed, even some of my friends that I've known for years, for a long time, they seem just more irritable with things more than usual. Maybe that's, us, myself, and just my particular friend group. I have no idea, but I've noticed a huge benefit when it comes to strength training. And I think that, if you have some pent up kind of aggression or something like that, just some frustrations, I've noticed that go away so quickly with some weights, with lifting weights, because it feels really good. And that's something that a long run doesn't always do for me personally. Maybe some sprints, kind of helps. The sprints will kind of help let that energy out and some frustrations. But the weights, something like deadlift, some back squats, stuff like that really kind of activate the central nervous system and just get you firing on all cylinders, I think is an amazing feeling, and something that when I've gone for long periods of time and have neglected, I really feel a huge benefit when I get back into it. I'm like, man, this is what I was missing. So I would challenge you to never go any period of time without strength training if you can avoid it. If you have a say in it, always make sure that you're doing some type of strength training. Even if you're preparing for a marathon, if you're kind of a newer runner or something like that, trust me, you still want to be lifting weights and your performance will actually improve. I've talked about this before on I think one of the episodes I did on like overcoming injuries when it comes to running, is that your performance will improve with strength training. And by that, I mean running performance, as well as the likelihood of injury decreases dramatically when you're lifting weights and strength training, because your glutes, your hips, they all have to be strong, and your core as well. So just don't skip it. Always do that. The last category of fitness when it comes to like physical fitness training that I'll bring up is the HIIT, high intensity interval training. If you want, refer to it as like a CrossFit style of workout. that for me in particular does not allow me to really think about much of anything else except for when is this workout going to be over. A lot of times I do enjoy it, but those can be really intense workouts where you're just focused on completing the sets, at least in my experience. But the benefit of that though is that I will feel kind of completely invigorated for days on end. And I think that the studies show that when you have some kind of interval training like that, that's when it really challenges. An anaerobic workout, for example, is when you're deprived of oxygen, that you will experience the benefits of that for days to come. Whereas if you're just going on a long walk or a long light jog, then it's really just kind of calories in versus calories out. And so obviously, yes, it's great to go for a walk after dinner or really at any time. It's great to go walking, but you're only kind of benefiting yourself in that moment when it comes to, reaching a caloric deficit or fighting that caloric surplus that you may already have. Even though it benefits you years down the road, what I'm saying is like, you won't really feel it days later. At least that's been my experience. Whereas, and that can kind of transition over for if you're going on a long run, but there are stints where you're sprinting really hard, then it can kind of transition into a bit of an anaerobic workout. And then you can experience the benefits for more days to come. I apologize about the noise in the background. We got some yard work going on here, unexpected, but I wanted to also, aside from physical fitness, I don't know why I went off on kind of that tangent there. I didn't even mean to talk about fitness as long. I just think it's one of the more obvious categories where you can experience these indirect benefits, not just physically, but also mentally, and you experience it on all levels. The other categories that I wanted to bring this up in, though, has to do with content creation, even though I think that's kind of a funny word, and foreign language acquisition. You've heard me talk about the benefits of learning a foreign language, how good foreign language acquisition is for your life as a whole, what it's done for me personally. But the one thing that I will add is that I've gotten a ton of benefits out of learning a second language that I didn't even expect. One of them being that, especially as we live in this kind of confused era with news coming from multiple sources, I really enjoy being able to look at news that's in another language. And, you can also kind of dive into those different perspectives, different sources within that language. And so that's just one example, as well as just kind of a better a different perspective of humanity, I should say, not just you get to experience different cultures and stuff like that. That's all real as well. I kind of expected that, but also just seeing kind of these universal human elements, I should say. That's probably a topic for another video, or for another episode, I should say. But basically, kind of, again, just falling into that indirect result, all these indirect results of learning a foreign language, which was the obvious initial goal, was to be proficient in this other language, to be able to understand it as well as to speak it fluently, comfortably. And the other, topic I'll cover is just kind of content creation. So obviously this, me with the camera, the microphone, is still a little uncomfortable. I'm still getting used to it. And the focus has been, to kind of put myself out there, to put my ideas out there, and to really start writing on the internet, as well as making these videos that I'm passionate about. Doing this podcast is not technically complicated, right? It's just me speaking, but there's that long form element to it that I really enjoy, especially when I get to have awesome guests on. I've had a lot of great guests on so far already, and But I also enjoy the solos because it's also just a chance for me to get to practice this longer form content as opposed to just reels on Instagram where it's much shorter. There are different skill sets. And so I will say that, a lot of these indirect, for business, it's great to have content, obviously, but there are a lot of indirect benefits to it. Getting more comfortable in front of the camera, speaking with people, trying to be a better listener, being more empathetic to different situations, and really trying to become a better researcher so that I have something interesting to say, or at least something that I find interesting, as in, that usually stems from me just being interested in whatever the topic is. And that hopefully by interesting, I just mean I'm bringing up something that might be of question to some of you out there as well. So I'm not trying to be groundbreaking in anything I'm really saying. I'm just hoping that I'm communicating a new perspective that resonates with some of you out there. So as we talk about indirect results, kind of unintended results, we can flip that on its head and make it intended. So I will just close on saying that always try to be aware of whatever it is that you're doing, whether that's work, something in relationships, a habit that you're building, or constantly building habits, either new ones, good or bad, or kind of reinforcing old ones. And I think it's really good to be aware of the byproducts of whatever those actions or even the thoughts are as well. So, and by no means am I saying that I have this all figured out and that I've built all the best habits, that everything is perfect. It's quite the opposite, actually. I'm picking up on this more and more, I think, because I'm becoming more cognizant of these different areas that I want to work on, even in fitness, relationships, personal stuff, at home, and just kind of how I want to be the best version of myself possible so that I'm positively affecting those around me and my community, So yeah, I'll just close on that, guys, is, always be aware of the byproducts. And then if you see anything that is beneficial, if you notice anything here that I'm leaving out, feel free to leave a comment, shoot me a message. And cause I really appreciate those. And yeah, hope you guys have a great week. And the next episode will be Cinema Saturday. And then after that, I'll surprise you guys with the next topic, but hope you guys have a good week and take care.